Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you on this Monday. We're certainly going to start off this video much different than we normally do, and that's talking about a very powerful earthquake that struck earlier this afternoon just northwest of Cuba. It's this red square that you see on the screen right now. Preliminary report was a 6.1, but it's been upgraded to a magnitude 6.4 earthquake, and that magnitude is likely to change as more information comes in. The bottom line, a very powerful earthquake about 100 kilometers west-northwest of the coast of Cuba was the epicenter, and this one was felt so far and wide across the area. It was felt as far north and east as Jacksonville, Florida. I'm going to show you on the map just how far Jacksonville is away from the epicenter. It's nearly 600 miles. So if you felt this earthquake, let me know in the comments section below. It was felt through a lot of Florida. I live in Central Florida. I didn't personally feel it, but there are some reports out of Central Florida of 10 to 15 seconds of shaking. If you live on the coastline of the eastern side of Quintana Roo, including Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum, Belize City, the Bay Islands of Honduras, Cayman Islands, let me know if you guys felt this. Now, the information on the earthquake is this. Again, 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time off northwest coast of Cuba, felt as far north as North Florida. But here's the most important piece of information. There is no tsunami threat with this earthquake as of right now. There are no tsunami warnings, advisories, watches, or threats, so it does look like we have avoided that situation. Doesn't mean that there won't be some wave inundation trying to move towards the west coast of Cuba, but as far as a large-scale tsunami threat through the northwest Caribbean and the eastern and the central Gulf, that does not appear likely and is not going to happen. So good news with that. But what a very powerful earthquake in this area that was felt far and wide. Now we're going to move on to what we typically do in the channel and talk about the weather. I'm going to bring on our 5-day forecast across our area, and we've got a lot to talk about when we discuss what's happening tropically as well. We're going to get going with what's happening right now in the East Pacific with now 2 named storms. We have Tropical Storm Boris and Tropical Storm Christina. Both of them right now are hugging the coast. One hugging the coastline of Nicaragua, headed up towards Guatemala and El Salvador. Then you have another one just south of Acapulco. That's Boris. Both of these are going to be significant rainmakers. It's going to be the biggest story, maybe up to a foot of rain, especially out of Boris near Acapulco. You're talking about steep terrain. You're talking about mudslides as a big problem here, between 200 and maybe 250 millimeters of rain. We're going to get some storm surge and some gusty conditions along the coastline, but this is a big rainmaker for the Pacific coastline of Central America and portions of Mexico. You'll see some of the watches and warnings and advisories because of those 2 tropical storms scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Now, for our area, again, when I last saw you, there was a discussion of some potential tropical development in the Gulf later this week. That does not look to materialize, and I'll have more on that coming up. But what has materialized is that pieces of energy from our Central American gyre have worked their way into the central and the western sides of the Caribbean, and that has led to some significant heavy rain and flooding. Now, some areas could really use some of this rain, but we're getting too much and too quick of a time in some spots. An area that has really just flipped from seeing extremely dry conditions to seeing some wet, stormy conditions with elevated sea conditions as well is our friends in Jamaica. From Kingston, Portmore, and Spanish Town on over to the western side of the island, Westmoreland and Hanover parishes, Montego Bay, Lucy Negril. It's the entire island on this Monday. This is the infrared satellite imagery. We have a load of tropical moisture coming through. Downpours are out there. We have a ton of kicked up sea conditions, even out towards Pedro and Morant Bank. So it's just a very active forecast across the area. If my friends in Jamaica, you guys live in this area, let me know in the comments section below what you guys have been seeing, not just today, but over the weekend. But obviously, we've kind of flipped the script with the rain, and there is a ton of tropical moisture still trying to move in. If I show you the visible satellite imagery here, and give me just 1 second to pull that up for you guys. I'm going to switch over to the Viz satellite imagery. You can clearly see that there is a broad mid and upper level spin associated with the moisture coming in. This is kind of a lobe of energy, if you will, coming off of the Central American gyre. And this is likely to continue to bring very active weather to the central and the northwest sides of the Caribbean in the coming days. And it was, the question mark is that the European model earlier was trying to take that energy and consolidate it into a low-level center of circulation in the Gulf by this weekend. And I'll have more on that coming up. But again, as far as that opportunity, I don't believe that's going to be the case any longer. I'm going to bring on the wind gusts as well. And you're going to see some gusty winds from time to time. Kingston producing a 35-mile-an-hour wind. Now, these showers are going to try and spin their way to Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac for today. You'll notice that there is a small craft advisory for seas of around 4 to 6 feet. And I expect elevated sea conditions across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands for the next couple of days. Moisture is also spreading through Cuba as well. We're starting to get a little bit drier weather coming back in, which has been the case really in the central and the northern Bahamas over the weekend. It's been a nice day, windy conditions, breezes at times for portions of Florida. But the air is still relatively dry here across Grand Bahama and Nassau, New Providence, and Eleuthera. A few scattered showers trying to break out in the far eastern side of the island chain. Places like San Salvador and Rum Cay could see a brief shower. A little bit better chance for rain today in the Acklins, Mayaguana, Inagua, and Turks and Caicos have the opportunity for a passing shower, including our friends down in Grand Turk. Now, an area that is likely to see heavier rain again for today is the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. There are some flood advisories in effect for the Puerto Plata area. And again, you'll see that information down at the bottom of your screen. This is a spot that could get 75 to 100 millimeters of rain on a daily basis, 3 to 4 inches. Again, higher terrain leads to some quick filling of the lower levels there as far as elevation goes, and you do get some rapid river rises in association with this. So the moisture is streaming in. You can clearly see that. The Haitian side of the island is getting wetter as well, Lacaille and over towards Port-au-Prince, and that will continue to be the case for the next couple of days. Now, where they have seen some extremely wet conditions, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the Lesser Antilles have been virtually dry. As a matter of fact, the biggest story today in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico is going to be the heat advisory that's currently in effect. Let me bring on the current temperatures right now, which in Fahrenheit are around 90 degrees. That's not exceptionally high, but the humidity values are pretty rough. And now your feels like temperatures in the Ponce area hitting above 100. It's not as bad as what it could be, but those who are not tolerant to the heat want to really keep things in mind as far as avoiding the mid-outdoor hours. And again, winds are still fresh out here for Christiansted, St. Croix, up towards St. Thomas, Fajardo, San Juan, 25, even 30-mile-an-hour breezes. Not a bad day up towards the Leeward Islands here, Anguilla, St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Bart's, about a 30-mile-an-hour wind. A passing shower is not out of the question for Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Antigua, but you're going to see in these forecasts for the Lesser Antilles in general here that the rain chances overall aren't significantly high in the coming days. Now, not a lot of Saharan dust. Haze has been okay for the most part, and the marine forecast has been pretty good as well. It's really been a beautiful forecast for Guadeloupe and Dominica down towards Martinique. Looking pretty good for St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Barbados, no big highlights here. Again, lower than normal rain chances for early June. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, TNT, some scattered showers, especially towards Trinidad. Locally heavy downpours, but again, it's very concentrated in nature. Nothing that's going to be extremely significant for the most part. Nueva Esparta could see a passing shower. Here's a spot I mentioned in the last video that could desperately use some rain, and they're getting more of that today, and that's over the ABC Islands. Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Fresh winds continue here. I'll bring on the enhanced satellite imagery, and you can see that's that moisture coming in. It's on the far eastern side of this lobe of energy, but we're pulling in just enough from the mainland to provide some overcast skies and from some time to time rain. So again, if you guys live in these areas that have been impacted by some of these showers, please let me know. I'll continue to monitor the situation as well. We'll get into the forecast coming up over Honduras and Guatemala and Belize and the rest of the Yucatan Peninsula as these tropical storms skirt the Pacific side of Central America and Mexico. But again, could potentially be more issues for that as well. Okay, so let's get into the forecast, friends, as we do so. Thanks for taking a quick set and hitting that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, we welcome you to a fantastic weather community. You found your home. Thank you for liking the video as well. I appreciate the members of the channel, so thanks for all the support in that way. Let's talk about the series of tropical waves that are going to be impacting our area here over the next week. And this is what it looks like on the surface analysis. So you have your Central American gyre, you've got your two tropical storms, and a tropical wave axis, which is just east of Jamaica, kind of through the windward passage right now, and it's continuing to move off towards the west, okay? So that's why rain chances will stay elevated in this area. Then you have three more tropical waves, which are lining up in the Atlantic Basin, just north of the intertropical convergence zone. It's still early June, and typically these waves still impact areas lower latitude than where we live, but I could see some moisture streaming in towards the eastern Caribbean at the end of the week. So that's the series of tropical waves that are likely to be moving in and impacting the area. So let's break down how that's going to impact us, and then we're going to get into the tropical outlook as well. So I'm going to bring up the rainfall here, and I just want you guys to see this, and then we're going to look at what could still try and take place in the Gulf here coming up. But first of all, again, there's your intertropical convergence zone. We're still fighting Saharan air to the north, so the air is relatively dry on the northern side of these tropical waves. There's just not enough moisture in play. That's the bottom line. So typically they do see the moisture come into central portions of South America and then maybe into the Windward Islands. So places like Trinidad and Tobago could see by the end of the week slightly higher rain chances. Maybe it gets as far north as Barbados and Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but we're still looking at a relatively dry forecast in our eastern zones compared to our western areas. Now, if you're new to the channel as well, I've got you 25 marine forecasts across our area. Tidal information for our fishermen. We've got max wave heights for those who maybe want to go offshore, our boating enthusiasts as well. So you'll see that again now at the bottom of your screen. Here's where we're going to continue to stay active. Jamaica, West, Cayman Islands, a lot of northern Central America, portions of the Yucatan. So I do expect much higher rain chances. San Pedro Sula, La Ceiba, Roatan, Utila, Guanaja, Belize City, on over towards Cancun and Cozumel. Again, in association with the general spin and the movement of Christina kind of coming inland here back into Mexico, almost just to the west of Guatemala and Belize. And this will continue to throw additional moisture back into the central and the southwest sides of the Gulf. But as far as this consolidating and becoming an actual tropical system in the northwest Caribbean or the central and the western Gulf of Mexico, that chance has really gone by the wayside. This is what it looks like on the European model. I'm going to just take off the rain forecast for a second. You can clearly see it's picked up on Christina, but now on this ensemble run of the European model, which was the most aggressive, trying to develop a tropical system late this week in the central or southwest Gulf, does not appear to be the case. There's just one lone ensemble member producing an area of low pressure. Doesn't mean it's not going to get wet. Doesn't mean we're not going to have some concerns, especially when it comes to flooding rains. But as far as a true tropical system in the Gulf late this week, the models have really come down, even the ones that were more aggressive. The GFS AI version of the ensemble members here of the GFS have been showing a clean model run throughout the entire potential event, and that continues to be the case. The Google DeepMind model has no signal whatsoever as well, so we are not looking at seeing any signs of development. Even on the European ensemble, chance of tropical development through next Monday, okay? Now, behind that banner says Friday, so as of Friday, that's what it looked like. Today, it's even farther south and west. There's a little bullseye here in the Bay of Campeche, but bottom line is we're looking at a very low chance in a very kind of shrunken area here, and it's not back into the central Gulf. So any interests in Louisiana, on over towards the west coast of Florida, not likely to get a true tropical system in, potentially a run of some tropical moisture, but we're not going to have the first named storm of the season coming in the next 7 days. When we look at the rainfall totals, again, significant numbers are still likely to fall over Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Northwest Caribbean in general. There's your foot of rain plus in some spots, which again, especially steeper terrain on the eastern Pacific side of our coastline of Central America and Mexico, could produce significant mudslides. And the European model again has a few inches of rain at least in the southwest Gulf. Otherwise, again, wet for Cuba. Haiti gets wet, and then east of there it is drier until you get down towards Trinidad and Tobago, where it could be a little bit wetter, southern sides of the Windward Islands. Obviously, when you're talking about this, kicked up rain, you're also going to be talking about elevated sea conditions as well. So it's likely to see from time to time the large wave and the strong wind advisory return for Jamaica. Small craft advisories could continue for the Cayman Islands. We could continue to see some small craft advisories for the Bay Islands of Honduras and coastal Belize, on up towards Cancun and Cozumel, southern coastline of Cuba. Better boating conditions for the Bahamas. Looking great for Grand Bahama and Nassau, New Providence. Back down towards Grand Turk, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands look pretty good as well. Fresh winds will continue to plague the ABC Islands. Again, in an El Nino, you have a lot of easterlies coming in that are even stronger. It does reduce the chance for tropical development, but with that stronger area of low pressure off to our west, all those easterly winds get pulled in and they stay fairly elevated for most of the hurricane season. And you can see that right now. These are the current winds, and these pink areas are 25 and 30-mile-an-hour winds off of the southwest coast of Jamaica up towards the Cayman Islands. That's why they have the small craft advisory. But brisk easterlies are likely to continue for the coming days. Friends, I think that's going to do it for today's video. I appreciate you guys so much. If you wouldn't mind taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so as well. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. I'll monitor the situation with the earthquake, but again, as of now, there is no tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat, which is good news. This is a very powerful earthquake that was felt very far away from the epicenter, just northwest of the Cuban coastline. Friends, appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow with your latest forecast.